All right, guys, here we are. Can you guys hear me? Are you guys able to hear me loud and clear today? Waiting for you guys to give me that confirmation that you can hear me loud and clear. Waiting to see if anyone here can say, you guys are listening to me? Can you hear me loud and clear? Is it clear before I embark on talking? Perfect. Okay, 91 of you are clearly super interested in what I have to say. And obviously, I am showing you the speaker today, okay? So this is not like clickbait. This is not me beating around the bush, not sharing with you what speaker has been here since October of 2023. Okay, I will let you know the speaker that I have here. Okay, before I do that, you know the deal. Just hit that like button, please. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate this. Okay, you have to help me so that I can continue to grow and, of course, bringing you quality content. Okay, right now it is 2:02 p.m., March 3rd, and I've had a great week. Part of this week took place here in my room. And what transpired here was essentially conversations and, of course, the visit of a loudspeaker manufacturer, okay? A very well-known loudspeaker, US-made loudspeaker. And so it is the time, of course, it's my turn now to share with you the speaker that I have hidden from you. Okay, so without any further delays, let me show you right away the speaker that sits here. There you go. Hopefully, I'm going to try to move my desk a little bit more. Bear with me so that I can give you a wider view of the loudspeaker that I have here. Okay. There you go, guys. You are seeing the speaker that I've been hiding from you. So hopefully you are happy now. You know what this is, and there's no more, issues. Okay. Yes, it is the Rockport Lyra. All right. The Rockport Lyra. You guys are seeing it? Can you see it? Yes. Rockport Lyra. That is the next speaker. That's a speaker that I have had since October of 2023. Okay? So there you have it. Are you still mad? Are you still upset? Are you still going to go off on me for not sharing with you? It took me 2 minutes to share with you the loudspeaker that I have had in the room. Right? Rockport Lyra. Current MSRP, $205,000. Now, don't start this whole, oh my God, this dude is crazy. $205,000 for that speaker is obscene. It's ridiculous. I don't make prices. I'm the messenger. I am the buyer. Don't get upset at me. Take that with the manufacturer. If you have an issue with the price, pick up the phone and call the brand yourself and explain why you have a problem. I don't care if you have a problem with it, okay? I bought it. Your job is to sit back and listen to what I have to say about the speaker. Nothing else. You didn't spend a dime. You didn't have to move out of your chair. I did the legwork. I actually it took me and my friend Carlos approximately a day just to unpack these monsters, okay? They are approximately 560 pounds. Yes, 560 pounds each. In the crate, they're approximately 750 pounds, I'd say. Very heavy speaker, very dense, incredible construction, okay? The speaker has, it really shows me what's possible when it comes to how inert a cabinet can be. The build quality is second to none, okay? It It is one of the best built loudspeakers I have ever owned. Okay, if you're looking at it right now, it is a 3.5 way. Okay, and let me explain to you what's so good about it. All right. So this is a 3.5 way loudspeaker. As you see right now, as you can see, we have the typical mid-range tweeter, mid-range combination. Okay, this is what a lot of these loudspeaker brands love to do. Now, what's cool about the Rockport itself is that only one of these two mid-range drivers meets the tweeter. The other one does not. Okay, so that's why it makes it a 3.5 way loudspeaker. You have the two, I believe they're 10-inch woofers on the bottom. Okay, and every single driver here on this loudspeaker is made by Rockport. Okay, they are not made by ScanSpeak. The only thing that ScanSpeak does is glue the woofers together because they have the right machines, they have the right equipment to make a very good job at gluing the drivers. Okay, the surround, you see the surround right here? Okay, they have all the technology needed to glue the surround of these woofers. Okay, so in case you're thinking that it is a ScanSpeak driver, no, it is not a ScanSpeak driver. Okay, it's not. Let me take this back. It's not a ScanSpeak driver. Okay, so if you're thinking this is a ScanSpeak driver, it is not a ScanSpeak driver. It's all made, designed by Rockport. The only thing ScanSpeak does is glue the woofers together because clearly they have all the necessary, resources to do this better than anyone else. Okay, that's as far as ScanSpeak goes, as far as their involvement with this loudspeaker. Now, if you've seen videos of this speaker online, and you can find this on YouTube, here on YouTube, if you Google Rockport Lyra, you should be able to find a video that shows, what goes into this speaker in terms of the construction, in terms of how the entire cabinet gets built. Okay, it's some of the most advanced process that I have ever seen out of any loudspeaker brand, period. Okay, this is why the speaker is 560 pounds. Now, I know that if you are looking across the Rockport lineup, okay, you're going to find Aviors, you're going to find Cygnus, you're going to find Orion, and I believe I'm missing one more. Okay, if you look at all those speakers from the Rockport line, you're going to see they all share the same tweeter. You're going to see they share the same drivers overall. Okay, and that is a fact. Okay, all Rockport loudspeakers, every single model that they currently build, share the same drivers. There is no difference across the line. So you might be wondering, then Jay, what the hell do you get by buying the Rockport Lyra then? If they use the same tweeter, the same mid-range, the same woofers on the more affordable speakers, then why should I spend so much money on the Lyra? So I'm going to answer that question, why that is. But before I do that, once again, hit the like button, please. Subscribe. I am doing a very educational live stream today, something that I have never done in the past. And I want to make sure you guys get something out of this conversation. Okay. I may not get to answer any questions. Maybe I'll take a few. But the purpose of today's live stream is so that you understand what makes the Lyra a special loudspeaker and for you to understand a little more about Rockport in general. So please, thumbs up right now, hit the like button, and subscribe. So as I was saying earlier, all Rockport loudspeakers have the same drivers. They share the same drivers, and they all go through the same QC tests, meaning that when they're assembling their crossovers, they are spending essentially the same time across all models. It doesn't matter if it is the $38,000 model or the $70,000 model in Cygnus, or in this case, the $205,000 Lyra. They spend the same amount of time on the crossovers and, of course, the testing of all the drivers. Okay, so what you get from a Lyra is essentially the cabinet. The cabinet is what takes the Lyra to an entire different level. It's a quieter sounding speaker. That means things that you normally wouldn't hear in other loudspeakers from their line would become more apparent with the Lyra. They actually come out of the speaker. And that is because how inert the cabinet is. The quietness of the speaker is the best there is from their own lineup. Okay, there's nothing that comes close to the construction of the Lyra. So you are paying for that next level cabinet construction. Of course, all the materials that go and the construction of the speaker are expensive. Okay, there are no fasteners, zero screws, zero there's no bolts, there's nothing around the speaker. Okay, when you look at the Lyra around, and you can find images online, okay, you can see that there is absolutely no fasteners anywhere. Okay, that is because everything is glued internally. It has a huge amount of volume internally. Okay, and what that really means, in case you're wondering, is it makes the speaker sound larger than what it is. Okay, now I am 6 feet tall, so you have an idea as far as how tall it is. I am 6'1", so you understand more or less how big it is. It doesn't seem like a very large loudspeaker, and it is not a big, massive speaker, but it is a speaker that fits in most rooms. It's a speaker that does quite well in my room, which is approximately what, 19 by 21 more or less, and 8 feet ceilings more or less. So it has the ability to sound larger than what it looks. There is so much about the Lyra that is really special. When I first got him back in October, I can tell you that the initial impression was quite satisfying. I heard a sense of smoothness, a beryllium tweeter. See that beryllium tweeter right there? That beryllium tweeter does not sound anywhere near close to any other beryllium tweeters I've owned in the past from any other loudspeaker, whether it be Magical, whether it be Focal, the list goes on and on and on. Rockport's beryllium tweeter is a softer sounding tweeter. Okay, I don't know how they do it. I would love to know, but I can tell you that their tweeter is a tweeter that is very, very engaging, detailed yet smooth. It doesn't overwhelm you with hyper detail. It doesn't try to make your ears bleed. It doesn't make you feel uncomfortable at loud volume levels. There is so much airiness out of that beryllium tweeter that you would be shocked. Okay, that's one of the most appealing things about the Rockport Lyra. Now, when it comes to the bass, it is a ported cabinet. Okay, so it does have a port in the rear. What makes this speaker so special is the fact that it just serves you bass in ways that it's difficult to explain. It doesn't sound like a sealed cabinet. It doesn't sound like a ported cabinet. It sounds just different. It feels as if it's able to separate all low registers and serve them to you. Nothing is mixed up. It doesn't sound like it's an entire amount, like a big amount of bass combined into one low note. Instead of that, you feel as if when the bass hits you, you can feel where the deepest notes are occurring and where the not so deep notes are happening. So the speaker is able to do this with the low registers. You feel all the frequencies. It's something that's well separated, very articulated. And so I found that quite impressive about the speaker. The speaker also disappears just incredibly, okay? The cabinet has a lot to do with it. You notice how the cabinet it doesn't have any edges, right? On the sides, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why the cabinet has this form, this shape. And that is because anytime you have a speaker that doesn't have any edges, the sound just spreads and it travels all around the speaker, and there are no points in which it will create some sort of reflection, if that makes sense. There are no reflection points, which means that the sound comes out of the speaker untouched. Sometimes when you have speakers that have a lot of edges, those edges interact with the sound that's coming out of those drivers. You're not going to have that problem with the Rockport Lyra. That is not a thing that occurs with the Rockport Lyra. It's actually quite interesting to see everything that goes into the speaker. I know that it is not for everyone. I understand it's a lot of money. But I will say there is a reason why. I will say this to you. There's a reason why you've never seen a Rockport Lyra on the secondhand market. You have never seen a Rockport Lyra on the secondhand market, and there is a reason for that. Okay, most people who buy a Rockport Lyra simply do not get rid of it. Most people just love the speaker. It is the speaker that you can retire with. Okay, it is a speaker that really pushes the boundaries of loudspeaker design and engineering. It really makes you understand what goes into a flagship loudspeaker. And to me, that was something that I immediately recognized the moment I first heard it. Okay. So at a high level, I can tell you that when you get to a Lyra, there are only very few speakers that may top it, sonically speaking. And those speakers could potentially be 2, 3, 4, or 5 times the money. Okay. So at $205,000, it delivers a performance that will definitely make you question the need to go up the ladder and buy something more expensive, because there isn't really anything that the speaker is lacking. Okay. Now remember, it is a flagship loudspeaker. I repeat, it is a flagship loudspeaker. That means there is a huge level of responsibility on you. You guys watching me, if you have any intention of buying a Rockport Lyra, you need to know this. There is a huge amount of responsibility that comes with that loudspeaker. Let me expand on that. Number one, this is a speaker that needs space to breathe. It needs the proper space around it. It needs a nuanced setup process. The process of setting up the speaker is extremely nuanced in detail. This is not the speaker that you throw in the room, tow it in, and you're done with it. I promise you that is not what you do with this speaker. Okay. I'm telling you right now, if you think that's what you're going to do with this speaker, you are in the wrong speaker. Number two, it needs the best electronics that money can buy. I repeat, you cannot have any sort of shortcut with a speaker like this. But this is not exclusive to the Rockport Lyra. I had the same situation with the Magical M6 that I had here about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. It's the same thing, folks. When you enter this realm of a loudspeaker, it will demand the very best electronics that you can afford. It is like having an 8K television, 8K resolution. It will demand the best source that you can afford. You cannot watch regular, antenna channels or whatever on an 8K display. It looks horrible. It looks bad. It won't work. You need to go out there and buy quality content in high res to really enjoy the performance of a display that is, at that level, with that level of resolution. This is no different. You're not going to put an integrated on a $205,000 Lyra. It's not going to work, folks. You're not going to put lamp cords for a loudspeaker. It's not going to work. You're not going to use trash power cords. It's not going to work. You're missing so much information. You're missing so much performance that you might as well not buy the speaker. You might as well don't even put money into it. Go away from buying a Lyra. When you buy this, that means you're bringing a level of seriousness when it comes to setting up the speaker and setting up the speaker for success. Okay, so I've given you 2 points to really think about if you're thinking about buying a Lyra. It is a special speaker, but the special speaker that it is also deserves special components in a good room, a really good room, along with the right setup. Okay, now I am not the person that's going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I had the speaker properly dialed in a month ago or 2 months ago. No. I knew when the speaker came in that it had a lot of potential. It had a lot of great things going for it. Okay. The speaker certainly had a level of detail articulation that was taking me aback. Okay. It did have that right out of the gate. But I knew there was something else that I was missing. I knew the speaker had more in it. just a hunch, a gut feeling, if you will. So as soon as I did that, okay, as soon as I realized that it had a lot of potential, I started to research online. Unfortunately, there is not a lot of information online about the setup of this loudspeakers. You are on your own. But luckily, I have a lot of resources, a lot of people that I'm close to that were able to help me find the right person to set up the speakers. Okay. And the speakers are now professionally set up. The speakers now sit where they should sit. It wasn't a position that was too far off from where I originally had them. However, half an inch to an inch with this speaker in terms of movement is a huge difference, massive difference. Okay. I also will say something that I don't think I've ever mentioned in the past, but if you are part of my ultra hi-fi members, in case you haven't heard about this, please visit my website, jaysaudiolab.com. Go there, become a member. I recommend an ultra hi-fi member plan because these members are with me on WhatsApp. Okay, they are with me real time. I'm answering questions all day. They get answers to their system questions. We have a beautiful group of people, approximately 20 ultra hi-fi members right now. Is a very private group and environment that, to me, it's the closest you can get to what I got going on. And yes, you get a lot of other information that will never be disclosed publicly. Okay, I will be honest, never be disclosed on this channel. I'll never do that. So if you want to get the closest to me and you want to know more about what I have going on, maybe things around the industry that can never be said publicly, become an ultra hi-fi member. But anyway, getting back to that, as I continued to move around the speakers, I realized that I needed an extra set of qualified gears. I needed a setup specialist to come and do the work because I feel as if my room, as presently constructed, okay, and I drop a lot of money treating my room with acoustics. I realized that my room now has more demands. More demands. What the hell do you mean, Jay? More demands. Why does your room now have more demands? Why does it have more when it's fully treated? Let me explain on what I mean by that. Please hit the like button again, guys. Let's get more people to watch this because I'm going to make this a very interesting video. I promise you. Hit that like button. So my room now is fully treated. And it now has the ability to, unfortunately, challenge speaker setups. It has the ability to tell me when I have something in the room that doesn't belong here. If I have too many boxes in the room, my room now, I can sense, is telling me there is something in the room that isn't allowing for example, the bass to sound as it should. Because you have a lot of boxes somewhere here, I can feel when the presentation isn't where it needs to be. This is something that I spoke to Rockport about, by the way, and they agreed. They told me that treated rooms tend to be more difficult to set up than untreated rooms. You're hearing it from me. I repeat, treated rooms are more difficult to set up than untreated rooms because the room is simply quieter. It's more silent. There is no reverb, no echo. It's giving you exactly what the system is doing. That means that you're getting to hear the speaker for what it is. If the speaker has no bass, it'll tell you that. If the speaker has a lack of soundstage, it'll tell you that. The room will give you that. When you have a room that's untreated, a room that doesn't have any sort of treatment, what happens is you may get the illusion that the speaker sounds bigger than what it is because there's a lot of reflection points. The sound is hitting the wall, so it's bouncing everywhere, and it gives you the illusion of a bigger soundstage when in reality it doesn't exist. It's just your room giving you that echo, right? Well, that's not how it works in a treated room. A treated room will challenge the hell out of you. Now, I didn't know this until my Chronosonic XVXs left about a month ago. I had no idea. Okay. The Chronosonic XVXs, were here when I didn't have any room treatments, when I had that room in its former version. Okay. I had some treatments, but nothing like this. And then when I treated the room, yes, certainly the speaker's tonality was completely different. But that's when I knew that the room has special requirements. That's when I knew the room needs to have much more dedication when it comes to the speaker positioning, the setup, the towing, the rake angle, the distance from the speaker to my listening chair, the distance between tweeter to tweeter now needs to be a lot more accurate, because if you aren't exactly where you need to be, you can actually hear that the sound might be going a little more to the left or more to the right because the room is streeted. So the energy now that the speakers are pushing into the room is proportioned. It's proportioned in a way that you can sense where things are not sounding right. And that's the challenge of a treated room. Okay. I didn't have so many challenges before. And so that's fine because I'm learning as I go along. It's all about a journey. Remember, my channel will never end. It's a journey. I'm sharing with you my challenges, and keep that in mind going forward. If you are treating your room, if you're going to put some treatments and do what I did, you are warned. Speaker placement is a lot harder when your room is treated. You are warned. Now, when you do put the time in to set up the speakers properly, they will sound far superior than they would sound in an untreated room. So take notes, mental note of what I just said. And so anyway, let me move forward. So I played with the speakers for 3 months. This is the reason why you guys never saw them on the channel. I wasn't ready to unveil the magnificent speaker that this is. I feel like when you are unveiling something this special, you need to set it up correctly. You need to make it sound right. You can't just, here it is, and here's my $200,000 speaker, and throw it in there, and it looks like I didn't spend the time, the effort, or the money to make it sound the way it should. Okay, so that's why it took me a minute. Well, right now they're sounding incredible, and that is because I did have help last week setting up the speakers. It took about a full day to get the speaker set up properly. Okay, and now the speaker is able to talk to me in ways that I never heard before. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is the Rockport Lyra is one of the most magnificent loudspeakers I've had the pleasure of owning. It's been with me for 3 months now, 4 months now, because we are in March. So it's been here for 4 months. I've had the chance to play with it, to understand what it does, to understand the transparency that this speaker has. Let me expand on that transparency. What do I mean by that? I feel personally that this is the first speaker that I have ever owned, okay, that has allowed me to hear two things that I can't say I've heard as clearly with other loudspeakers. Here's what I mean by that. When I use my Griffin amplifiers, when I use my Griffin Apex, when I use my Griffin Antillean Evo Monos through the Lyra, and I turn them on, I set the bias to high, I can hear the amplifiers sounding cold through the Lyras. How do I know that? The tweeter doesn't sound refined. The tweeter sounds a little bit glassy, a little bit rough around the edges. It doesn't have a lot of airiness. As time passes, about 30 to 45 minutes into the listening session, once that high bias setting on the amplifiers, the Griffin amplifiers, has kicked in, all of a sudden the tweeter begins to sound so detailed, so liquid. It just, everything sounds more extended. The mid-range begins to feel more focused in the middle as opposed to more diffused. There are so many impressive things that happens through this loudspeaker. So that's one thing that I heard clearer on the Lyra than any other loudspeaker I've had. Okay, that's one thing. And then the second thing that will shock you as I speak to you today, the second thing is something that I share with my ultra hi-fi members. Okay. And that is the fact that this speaker has taught me something that I never knew. When I'm listening to digital files or streaming, better said, streaming, it happened, as a matter of fact, with these people that were here last week. It happened with them. We started to listen to the speaker. It didn't sound right. We heard it for about 15 to 20 minutes. The amplifiers had been on for 2 hours before these people arrived to help with the setup. So I know it wasn't the amplifiers, but something wasn't sounding right. So I rebooted Rune, and I rebooted my Tico Extreme Music server, and I rebooted my DAC. As soon as I did that, it was a completely different system. Yes, I rebooted Rune, I rebooted my Tico Extreme Music server and my DAC, and I began to listen to the same music. It was like day and night. So that's one thing this speaker does. Another thing that you may not know about, and you're going to call me crazy, you're going to call me, I've lost it, I need meds, but I'm going to tell you something you may not know. When I listen to streaming music, Tidal or Qobuz, and let's say my system has been on for about an hour to two, so everything is cooking, and I push play. Wait 20 seconds, I'm done with that song, go to the next song. Listen to another 20, 30 seconds, next one. So I never finish every song, right? 20, 30 seconds. And you guys are guilty of this. You guys are guilty of what I'm saying here. I know many of you right now watching me do what I do. You have a lot of music on Qobuz and Tidal, and you never get to finish the song. You go through songs based on like where those sweet spots are on that song, and then you queue up the next song. That's how you all do it. I know that's what we do. I know that's what we do. We all do that. So with these speakers, this is what's interesting. I am doing that, and I'm hearing the system just sound okay. Nothing special, of course, in my opinion, and I have a high reference point. But what I did the other day was an eye-opener. All I did was push play on my playlist. In case you want to know what that playlist is, go on Tidal and search Jay's Audio Lab. My playlist is shared with everyone. You guys can queue up my playlist and listen to the music that I normally put on my channel, normally play on my channel. So when I push play all and I don't touch anything, the only thing I'm holding is the remote, because you know every song has different volume levels, right? So I have to be constantly adjusting as the system goes from song to song. I have to go up and down with the volume. When I do that and I listen to every song in its entirety, the system sounds insane. It is another system. So I am now believing that every time we are queuing up songs, meaning we never finish one and we go to the next one and we go to the next one, we go to the next one, there's some sort of stability. The system doesn't stabilize. The network doesn't stabilize, if that makes sense. And so when you're doing that, you never get maximum performance from the system. I feel like anytime you're accelerating the process of listening music by pushing next, the network never really stabilizes. It never buffers correctly. And that buffering is consistently happening every time you push next. It never stabilizes. It never remains where it should be. And so next time you're listening to your playlist, play all and leave your iPad alone. Put it off to the side and listen to your system. Don't fast forward a song. Don't change tracks. Just listen to your system, every single song, and just use your volume. You'll remember what I'm saying to you. When you're skipping songs consistently, the system always sounds bright. It gets to sound edgy. It sounds more digital. To me, that was an eye-opener, and that is something that I discovered through the Lyris. I don't feel like I discovered that through any Wilson audio speaker that I've had in the past or any Magical loudspeaker that I've owned. So That's the level of transparency, articulation, neutrality that this speaker has. Okay, it is mind-boggling. It is really an it's one of the most impressive loudspeakers I've had the pleasure of owning, folks. That's all I'm going to tell you. I mean, there's no way, no better way for me to express this. Okay. Now, with that said, let me look at some questions. If you have any questions about the Lyra, I'm going to take some questions right now. Okay. Stay on topic. Let's talk about the Lyra, please. I'm not going to answer any questions that do not have to do with the Rockport or Rockport brand in general. Okay. I want to stay on topic. Okay. So let me read some questions. In the meantime, please hit the like button, subscribe, help me out here. Okay. I'm looking at questions right now. No, the Lyras are mine. They're not alone. I repeat, if you are hearing from people around forums, again, forums, which means nobody's, okay, and they're creating narratives about anything being on loan here, tell them I said I don't have anything on loan. Everything here is mine. Nobody loans you a $200,000 speaker. Okay. Nobody does that. Nobody sends you a $360,000 Wilson XVX on loan. I don't know of anyone who does that. I wouldn't loan it. Would you loan a $300,000 speaker to someone? I know you wouldn't. So no, I buy everything with my own money. I want to make sure that's clear. I agree with this statement, Michael. You're right. A lot of the people who whine and complain and moan and say all these things are not even people that would be my customers anyway. You're right, or my clients. I get it. Are the Rockports by wireable? They can be ordered in by wire configuration. So if you have a desire to buy amp the speakers, you can order them like that. Most people have them with a single set of binding posts, and that's how these are. So, but you can order them by wireable if that's your wish. Rockport can definitely accommodate you. They are the best you've heard from any other speaker for your taste. Absolutely incredible speaker, no doubt. Really is one of the finest loudspeakers I've had the pleasure of owning. I'm reading the questions, guys. So if you have questions that are in relation to the Lyra, please go ahead and post them. Do I think it's possible to get incredible sound from a room that's not treated? Absolutely. I do feel like there are some speakers that can shine in rooms that are untreated. I have Borison is a perfect example. Borison and MBL, those are two prime examples of loudspeakers that work in untreated spaces. So yes, I do believe it's possible. Let me see. I am looking, wonder. Here's a good question. Wonder after this how much he makes as an affiliate for Rockport. What's his cut? Here's a perfect example of a fool talking out of you know what. So I'm going to answer this front and center. So Louise, if you're watching me, I'm going to answer you on the spot. First of all, no, Rockport doesn't pay me for this. No, I'm not getting a check. So you might want to get that stupid idea out your head. No, I do not get paid by Rockport. No, Rockport hasn't given me any money to talk about them. I bought these speakers with my own money. So there you have it. Have they been in contact with me, texting me to see how the system is sounding, to see what they can do to help me? Absolutely. They have been. They have been extremely helpful. They have been very accommodating. As a matter of fact, I may have an interview with Andy, who is the designer of the speaker. I may bring him on my channel and talk to him about Rockport in general. So people like you, Luis, are people that sometimes I don't understand because you are just creating narratives that don't exist. You know that it's like it gets you off to talk like this. I'm telling you, I haven't gotten anything from Rockport, nothing. I'm doing it to actually please you, so you can sit on your ass at home and have something to watch. So you might want to wipe that stupid idea out of your head. That is correct, Rivel. There is a epoxy, like a glue, between the two cabinets, the outer shell and the inner shell. So if you want to see how these things are made, these Lyras, you can Google the video on YouTube. It's there. You can see what it takes to build one single Rockport Lyra. It's a very intricate process. I wouldn't say, John, they are better than the Wilsons. I would say they are different. I would say it's a speaker that will show you things that perhaps the Wilson could have shown me if I had him in a bigger room. I would say these are actually more appropriate for my room. The size of my room, they look more like at home in my room, a room of my size. So it's a different type of sound. Wilson has its own type of sound. Rockport has its own type of sound. So those magical. So it's a very difficult comparison. You're asking me to compare Mercedes against BMW, man. It's a beryllium tweeter first and foremost. So that's the biggest difference. A beryllium tweeter. They're both ported. This is aluminum. Wilson is not aluminum. Wilson uses that V composite, that V material to construct their cabinets. So it's a different feel. Okay, both of them do incredible things. So it's very difficult for me, John, to tell you what are their differences or which one's better. How do they compare? Okay, this is a good question. How do Rockports compare to Magical and Wilson? I always thought of Rockport like this, and I was right. It's as if Wilson and Magical had a baby. I think they use the best traits of both brands. One, they use an aluminum cabinet, just like Magical. Although, yes, they're the way they design and the way they put together their cabinet is different than Magical because Magical uses a lot of fasteners. This does not, but they use aluminum. Okay, so that's similar. They use a beryllium tweeter, which is similar to Magical. They also use a beryllium tweeter, although this is a different type of sound. This tweeter sounds very different. It's a lot softer, a lot easier on you. And as far as Wilson, how does it compare to Wilson? Number one, they have the dynamics of a Wilson loudspeaker, and they are ported speakers, just like Wilson Audio. Magical is not ported. So I think with those, and the bass is extremely good and articulate. So those are the best comparisons that I can share with you as far as like how they compare to each. At the end of the day, they are still one of the best, I'd say top three brand in the United States. This is why they have been around for a long time. Of all the speakers I've had, is this the most inert cabinet? I have to say it probably is. It probably is. Um, think about it. It is 560 pounds. It's approximately the size of a Magical M6. And easy, I'd say 150 to 200 pounds heavier than a Magical M6. So I would say, yes, it is definitely the most inert cabin that I have ever seen. No doubt. It's quite heavy, guys. You have no idea. I mean, I'm in back pain the next day, after I move them. So it's really a very, very solid, dense speaker. Remember, guys, I'm answering questions specific to Rockport. I do not want to answer anything else outside of the Rockport brand. This is a video dedicated to Rockport. And no, I'm not being sponsored by Rockport. Rockport's not sending me a check in the mail for saying this. Full transparency. I just want to make today's live stream about Rockport, period. There is nothing analytical, Jen, analytical about the speaker. I don't find anything analytical about the speaker. The only thing they do is basically present you with what you're connecting to the speaker. They are a softer type of sound, softer but yet detailed. Okay, so they are not analytical by any stretch of the imagination. They're very clear sounding, and overall, I think it's a very engaging speaker. And here is the question that someone that I feared. Andreas, you asked the question that I feared I would be asked. So thank you for asking this one. It hurts me. It pains me to say this. And let me have a little bit of coffee here. It hurts me. It pains me to say this. But hit that like button before I tell you this. Please hit that like button before I tell you this. Andreas, you're asking a magnificent question. Am I missing the height of the large speakers? And the answer is yes. I am definitely missing the height, the tall soundstage that I was used to with my Wilson Audio Chronosonic XVXs. I miss that enormous sound. Again, not to say that these don't present a huge picture when it comes to the presentation. They definitely do. But I am missing what only tall loudspeakers do, in my opinion. And the Chronosonic, unfortunately, have completely spoiled me, have completely killed my ability to perhaps forget what tall speakers are all about. I do, and I say this, of course, 100%, with 100% honesty, I do miss the tall sound of the Chronosonics. I do miss that huge, enormous presentation that only, in my opinion, tall speakers can do well. It's not a knock or a deficiency on this loudspeaker at all. I just went over what makes this speaker over the last 57 minutes. I just told you all exactly why this is one of the finest and most impressive loudspeakers I've had the pleasure of owning. But now that you're asking this question, I must say that I think I understand myself better after owning the Chronosonics. I think as an audiophile, I began to now see better ahead of me. There is a lot more sharpness with my senses and what I require in my room. So I can't say with certainty, again, with full honesty and transparency with you guys, that I will hang on to the Lyras forever, that I will hang on to them for the next 6 months. I cannot say that to you guys. So if you see the speakers walk out of the room, listen, my job is complete by letting you guys know what the speaker did in my room, by talking to you today, by sharing with you my experience and my time with the Lyra since last October. So they just did not get here yesterday. They have been here since last October. I've lived with the speakers for 4 months. So I want to make sure you guys understand that, okay? If they leave, it could be because maybe I have a different plan. It could be because maybe I have a different speaker that came to my attention that I want to quickly grab and bring to the lab. It's just what my journey is about, folks. And I can't promise that you will hear a lot with the speaker on my channel, that we will do a lot of videos with music. I can't promise you all. I may probably release a video or two of the system playing music, but I feel that it probably will not go the distance as I did with the XVXs. Okay? Please, I'm just being honest and not BSing anyone here. With the Lyra, I am currently using these are the Shunyata Omega speaker cables. They're top of the line, $25,000 speaker cables. I just ordered my Authentic Audio speaker full loom of cables, which should be here in about a week or so, and then I'll go back to my Authentic Audio cables. Why? Because that's the brand I import here in the United States. That's the brand that I represent. And of course, every time I send my loom of cables to our customer, our client, they never come back. They keep them. And so I have to go back to my storage, pull out any cables I may have there, and use them to give you guys content and music videos and whatnot. So pretty soon I'll have my entire full loom of Authentic Audio image cables again, and we'll continue to roll forward. Well, Dan, this is a good point that you're making about the look of a Wilson audio speaker. Okay. I personally feel they are very polarizing when it comes to the looks. I do not disagree with you, Dan. It is not the most attractive loudspeaker. It isn't. I think that the Chronosonic is the best looking loudspeaker that Wilson has ever created. But I see that they do not have a wife approval factor. They don't. They do not look as simplistic, as good looking as a Lyra does, in my opinion, or a Magical M series or a Sonos Faber. Certainly, those three designs are above it. Okay, these things are just simple and beautiful. What makes them pretty is how simplistic they are. Nothing really looks out of place. Nothing really looks weird. There's no weird form factor with these. So that's pretty attractive. But I agree with what you said about the looks of a Wilson Audio. It's not for everyone. So these have hours on them. They are not brand new. I bought them secondhand. Okay, so they have a lot of, I would say, easy 300 hours on them. Okay, so they're not brand new speakers. I am not using the subs, Rick. My subs are strictly for home theater purposes. I do not use any subs with my system. Rockport does not have a sub. I question Rockport about the possibility of them perhaps manufacturing a sub, and there is no plan in the future of Rockport designing and manufacturing a subwoofer. So there's that. This is a good question. Is the cabinet inertness the main difference from the XVX or other things? No, there's more to that. I mean, the Wilsons use a soft dome tweeter. These are a beryllium tweeter. Of course, this is a 3.5 way. Wilson XVX is not a 3.5 way. Wilson is a larger loudspeaker. It's got, obviously, a bigger sound stage because it's a big speaker. I mean, it has a rear mounted tweeter as well. The XVXs, these don't. So there are differences, but keep in mind, folks, the XVX is nearly twice the money of this speaker. This is a big difference. We're not talking about two speakers that are around the same price point. I mean, that is a huge amount of money between the difference in money between the Lyra and the XVX. I mean, 170 grand, it's a lot of money. So yeah, the XVX will do some things that, may not be as apparent with the Lyra. Thanks, Stephen. Stephen, if you want to see more on the cabinet, I suggest you get out, use Google on YouTube, search Rockport Lyra, and I'm sure you'll find a video where they go over in detail what makes the speaker so special and how they construct the Lyra. I mean, I'm going to tell you this. These have impeccable paint finish. They have absolutely no issues with the paint. It's incredible, incredible. The shiny paint, and there are no swirl marks on these. These came out perfect. So that's all I can say about the pair that I have. The only pair that I've owned, by the way. Right now, I'd say with these particular speakers for this inert cabinet, I don't know, man. In my opinion, I really don't know what the best material has been, because I think there is more than just the material. You're talking about the crossover design, you're talking about the internal wiring that we're now discussing, we're talking about the driver technology and the implementation of such drivers. So it's more than just the material. It's a lot more than that. Okay, so it's hard to say, what sounds the best in terms of construction, right? I just don't think that there is such answer for what makes a speaker sound good. Is it just a cabinet? There's more to a speaker than just a cabinet. Do these speakers connect me more emotionally to the music than the Wilsons? It's a different sound. Like I said, there is definitely detail here that is a lot more apparent because it's a beryllium tweeter, guys. Beryllium tweeters are notorious for being ultra detailed, even at low volume levels, right? Beryllium tweeters tend to have this incredible, incredible amount of clarity as well. Not that the Wilsons didn't. The Wilsons did have a lot of clarity, but overall, I feel that they share a lot more differences than similarities. I think when it comes to similarities, I would say they're both ported. They both present an enormous sound stage. They both have great dynamics. This speaker has an incredible level of like quietness to it. It's so quiet, the speaker. It's crazy. So you are saying a very good thing here, which is maybe the sound of the Chronosonic is more exaggerated than it really should be. Hmm. That's a good observation. It could be. Maybe I am a lover for exaggerated sound. You are completely right. I could not argue your statement. And maybe these are actually the more truth to the source and the sound and the music that's being played. So it's very tough to tell you exactly what is the truth or isn't the truth, right? I'm just saying, for me, maybe in my room, given the fact that my room is very, very treated and extremely quiet, I may have a thing for a taller speaker with more drivers because they do push more air. Remember, speakers with more drivers do move air, a lot more air. And so maybe that extra air is what makes my room perhaps sound better. We shall see. I have not used Boulder yet, but I can tell you Boulder will work phenomenal with Rockport as well. But I do know actually of a dealer in Oklahoma that uses Rockport with Boulder 2150s, and he says he is doing backflips with that combination. So I know Boulder sounds incredible, incredible with Rockport based on the feedback that this dealer has given me. And this is a very trustworthy person, so he wouldn't be lying to me. We have a lot of conversations behind the scenes all the time, things that will never go public. So I know that based on that feedback, I expect for the any Boulder amplifier to sound incredible, sublime with these Rockports or any Rockport. It could be possible, JM, to put him on some sort of a pedestal or a platform, if you will, to raise him up higher. It could be possible. But you also always have to keep in mind one thing, okay? The manual does state that tweeter right there, that tweeter needs to stay as close as possible to your ear level. Okay, so when you're sitting down, measurement needs to be taken from your tweeter to the floor, and then you have to come back here to the speaker and measure the tweeter to the floor to make sure you're getting more or less the same height. And so if you start putting these on a platform, you're going to lose that. That tweeter now gets higher, and you're not in line with the tweeter. The recommended setup process, I was told, calls for that tweeter to be about your height. So that's why I don't think you could do that. The only thing you might be able to do is probably toe it back a little, because the feet on the Rockport are adjustable. So you can unthread them a little bit and then probably, tilt them back some to give you more of a angular sound like this that gives you the illusion of having more things happening at the top. Speaking of that, the speaker does have an incredible amount of three-dimensionality, and there are things that happen all the time when I'm listening to it that are here. It's like ghosts, if you will, in the air. It's a really cool effect that the speaker has. Okay, how I could tell you how they compare. Unfortunately, I've never owned the MBL 101s. I couldn't tell you. Thank you. Appreciate it, David. Thank you for that comment. Comments like this are comments that make me keep pushing forward. Okay. I'm here on a Sunday afternoon, spending time with you, unveiling the speaker rather than spending time with my daughter and my wife. And so when I hear comments like this and read comments like this, it makes me feel like this is worth it. Yes, sir. Rick, that's what I've been saying. Create your playlist before you sit down to listen to your streaming service and push play. Play all. Do not skip songs. I believe now you can hear more brightness, and there is less of what should be with the music and the sound when you stop doing the skipping. Next, 20 seconds with this one. Next. Let the music play. Let your entire playlist play. All you need to do is adjust with your volume. Do nothing else. And I'm telling you, you'll remember my words. When you start playing your system like that, you'll see that anytime you skip, the system loses this ability to capture you. There is less just sense of realness when you do that. I believe the network is at fault. It needs to stabilize somehow. I can't explain it. I'm not like an IT person to explain this to you, or I don't work for a music server company to explain to you, but my ears are telling me, hey, it doesn't sound right. But if I sit here and just by the time I get to the third song, I start to feel like it hits its stride, as if it's already buffered the song completely and you're hearing much more musical satisfaction, if that makes sense. I am not using subs, Rick. Okay, what is my favorite aspect of the Lyra? As in the one thing it does the best that you have experienced? Great question. Thank you for that question, by the way. What is the greatest thing about the Lyra? I will say the Lyra has, to me, one of the most impressive transparency, I would say. The transparency of the Lyra is really incredible. I have to say that is one of the best things I can honestly and will honestly remember going forward with the Lyra. It's the level of transparency that is mind-boggling. I mean, again, I'm telling you, I've heard my Class A amplifiers go from not so good to sounding engaging, musical, liquid, pure. I hear it through the Lyra better than with any other speaker I've had. Much better, much easier. And to me, that's so freaking incredible and to me satisfying because there's nothing else that for me that I like more than hearing my system go through changes and understanding and taking notes as to why it got worse or why it got better. That is one of the most impressive things about this loudspeaker. It will tell you what is, and it will never tell you what isn't. Great question. After living with the Lyras for more than 4 months, would I place them among my top three speakers so far? Without a doubt, without a hint of hesitation, the Lyra is one of the best loudspeakers I've owned. However, as I explained earlier, the level of responsibility is extremely high. When you own a Lyra, you are not done. It's only the beginning. You need to make sure you know what you're doing with the setup process and, of course, the right electronics. It's more critical here than not. Here, I feel like it highlights things much better, including your lack of effort when it comes to setting it up properly or having the bad electronics. That's why I love so much the Lyra. It's because it's so neutral and so good at what it does that unfortunately it will be just the most honest friend you'll have. And I can appreciate that about the Lyra. This is a great question. Have I compared the Orion? Look, I have not compared the Orion to the Lyra. The Orion is a speaker that I've only seen once. And I can say to, or maybe twice, I can say that what I know about the Lyra and the Orion, as far as the differences, okay, this is what I know. Now, I'm sharing with you what I have been told. So I don't know if it's true or not true, but I'll share it with you. I was told the Lyra is a quieter cabinet. Okay. I was told the Lyra is still even more revealing. However, the Orion is a friendlier speaker when it comes to placement. The Orion is a much easier speaker to place in a room that's not treated. Also, it's not as finicky when it comes to placement. The Lyra demands more work when it comes to placement. That's what I've heard at a high level. Sonically, I don't have any feedback to give you, but it's still, I mean, you're talking about two incredible loudspeakers. You cannot go wrong buying a Rockport Orion. You cannot go wrong buying a Rockport Lyra. They're both incredible, incredible loudspeakers. Have I prefer the sound of a cheaper speaker to an expensive speaker? No, I think the most expensive speakers, unfortunately, have been the better speakers for me. Does that mean that there are no good affordable speakers? No, I think the Magnapan 20.7s are easy a winner for me. For 13 or 15K, that's a fun speaker, man. For that kind of money, that 20.7 that I had, Magnapan, man, that was a fun speaker. And the reason why it's so fun is because it's a big sound. So you have this big presentation that you know it's not realistic because let's face it, it does inflate the sound of instruments, but you already know that going into it. So all you're doing is having fun with it, right? So I have had fun with affordable speakers, but the best sound, the most accurate sound has always come from, the more flagship offerings, including Martin Logan, the Neolith, incredible speaker, but it's expensive and big. This is a great question, Jeff. Can I say that beryllium tweeters are good for those that constrain to play at low volume levels? Do they maintain the same imaging sound stage down at lower volume levels? Before I answer that question, you know the deal. Please hit that like button, guys. Okay. Give me some love. I'm here on a Sunday with you instead of with my family. So I would appreciate if you hit that like button. Okay. Help me out here. So to answer your question, beryllium tweeter to me is phenomenal when it comes to low level listening. If I live in an apartment and I cannot make a lot of noise and I have a baby, I can't crank up my system. I probably would go with a beryllium tweeter, because you still get all this information, this nuanced um, through the tweeter, that even a low volume, that sometimes I feel like soft domes have a harder time doing that, or any other tweeter. When it comes to low level detail, I do believe beryllium tweeter is probably the king. It's been, in my case, always my go-to tweeter when I want to listen to music at lower volumes. It's always been my go-to type of speaker. This is a good question here, Marcella. By the way, Marcella, thank you for being here with us. Appreciate a female audiophile. It's refreshing to see you here following me and watching my madness. So thank you. Um, I actually want to bring female audiophiles on the channel and talk about their systems and how they got started, and share with the audience what your system is about and why are you so crazy the way most of us are. Okay. But I want to answer your question here, Marcela. Since I have tall speakers, my experience is that I quit quite difficult to listen. Yeah. So you find it quite difficult to hear small speakers because you're used to tall speakers. I'll say to you, Marcela, that's definitely something that is happening to me too. I feel like there's some stuff missing at the top, but I also feel there is an adjustment period that happens to your brain in years. So this is not something that you need to do. Like, you're not going to accept a small speaker after owning a tall speaker. It's going to take you time. I think it's like anything else in life. You've been driving a big SUV, a big truck, and now you have to drive a small, compact car. It's going to take time for you to get used to a smaller vehicle, right? But over time, as you keep driving it, eventually you just get used to it. I think that's the same with speakers. It will take you time to get adjusted to the new sound, and eventually you might learn to live with it, always remembering that you prefer that huge, tall soundstage that fill your room with air and spaciousness, that you can actually walk around your room and go to the kitchen and grab a coffee and you still hear the sound coming at you. There's no denying that tall speakers have a special type of sound that sometimes small speakers have a difficult time replicating. And it's, again, listen, the laws of physics. There's a reason why they exist. Hopefully this answered your question. And I'm curious to hear, by the way, what your system consists of. So put it in the chat. Let me know, what is your system currently? Triangle proportion, the XVX was approximately 10 feet away from me. These are about 11 feet away from me, more or less. I mean, not exactly precise, but around there. So you typically want to stay with an equilateral triangle. Sometimes you can be a little more farther away. For example, it's usually like this. So if, let's say, the distance from tweeter to tweeter is, I'll throw a number out there, 100, I don't know. Let's say it's 100 inches. Throw a number out there, right? You don't want to be more than 125 inches away from the speaker, right? You want to be ideally 100 inches away from the speaker if they are 100 inches apart. But you do not want to be more than 25% more away from that speaker. So in this case, 125 inches. I feel that once you start to separate yourself from that speaker more than that 25%, you begin to lose this intimacy. You begin to lose this feeling of submersiveness. Okay, this feeling of a bubble of sound. Does that make sense? You feel like the sound isn't around you anymore. You're doing more of a hallway listening, as if you have the speakers at the end of the hall and then you're on the other end of the hall. That's one thing you have to be mindful of. So I completely encourage everyone here that if you have speakers right now you're playing with and you're setting them up, start with that. Build an equilateral triangle. Okay, that's your starting point, and then go work your way back from there to see how far you can go before you begin to lose this intimate feeling with your loudspeaker. Trust me, you'll know. You'll know when you went too far. Believe me when I say that. Is it safe to say this is one of the most transparent speakers? I would say this easily is one of the most transparent speakers I've had. Easily. Magic was very transparent too, though. My Chronosonic XVX is too, but I'd say this is up there. This is right there, walking on the same, path as those two. Absolutely. Do I think that this TAD R1TX may be no, it's a different sound, David. It's so different. They do not even use the same design. I mean, it is absolutely different. They do not sound alike at all. Really, it's hard for me to say which is better, because at that point, I think what's happening is I'm also giving you that subjective opinion about which one is better, not necessarily telling you this is better because of X, Y, and Z, but rather because I like it better, because it's more my kind of speaker, my type of sound, right? So it's like if you ask me to compare Ferrari and Lamborghini, man, it's hard. It's more about what you like. Maybe you like the look of the Lamborghini better than the Ferrari, right? So it's a very difficult comparison, to be honest. Be honest with you, both of them are phenomenal speakers. Am I planning to listening to the Boris and M3s and M6s? I don't have any plans of listening to a Boris and M series. I may pop up with a Boris and O series maybe at some point. You might see an O Boris and speaker here, just to kind of like give you a feel of what it does in my room, maybe. But I don't think I can go to the extreme M series Boris, and man, it's a lot of money. Do I think I'm going to go back to Wilson's? George, I have no plan of going back to Wilson for at least the next 18 months. I don't expect to have a Wilson speaker probably here until, if I have to, 2026, 2027. I don't have any plans. I have explored the Wilson line as deep as I can go. After owning the XVXs, everything else under it's like not interesting to me, to be honest with you. No, I heard the Orions had a show, but remember, shows are not a clear representation of what something sounds like. Shows are just for you to get an idea, and I got an idea, but it's not a really good idea because the music was not something I'm used to, right? So keep that in mind. Yes, the Rockports can be by wire or by amp. You just have to order them by wireable or non by wireable, depending on what you want to do. Yeah, Rockports are softer sounding than Magicals for sure. They are. Absolutely. I do believe my authentic audio image cable line will make these things sound phenomenal. Next level, no doubt. Andreas, I think it would do well with that type, with a set tube SET tube amplifier. I think so, but I will say this to you: the Lyras need power. In my opinion, you gotta feed them power, and that's what's gonna pay you dividends. Okay, the Apex is lighting them up like a Christmas tree. Excuse me. So I would say they love power. That's my opinion, though. So, I feel they definitely need as much power as you can feed them. What made me choose the Lyra over other speakers in the same price category? This is a very simple and easy question to answer because number one, I had already done my time with Magical and with Wilson's, and I feel like Rockport was the brand that I needed to pursue. The third most important brand in the US is Rockport. And so I needed to find out what the speaker is about. And I was blessed to find these Lyras. It was an opportunity. It wasn't like the stars just aligned, to be honest with you. And that's how the Rockport Lyra ended here. It was the right speaker at the right time, the right timing. And so I just pulled the trigger. That's really what happened here. So, why I know their speakers? Because you know what? I don't have many other speakers that I want to try. I don't feel like I'm motivated to buy more speakers from right now from Wilson. I'm not motivated to buy any Magicals right now. I'm not motivated to try any Focals. I've already had all the Focals. Nothing there for me. So I feel like I want to try something different, and Rockport was this brand for me. So once these Lyras are, no longer here, and that they will come, full transparency that they will come, then I don't have anything Rockport that I want to explore for quite some time. Because once you own the Lyra, what else am I going to really be trying other speakers for? I mean, I'll know more or less what the rest of the lineup will do, just to a smaller scale, right? Because that's what I said earlier. They all sound very similar. It's just this has the most neutrality, the most transparency, the deepest bass. This has everything that Rockport knows today about loudspeaker design is in this speaker. So I don't have a need to try more Rockport loudspeakers because I've already had their flagship model. Thank you, man. I appreciate that comment as always. Those comments are the comments that really keep me going, really give me the energy that I need to keep this journey going and share this journey with you guys. Okay, so people like you are people that I do appreciate following me and supporting me. How do I compare this tweeter to the Boris and AMT tweeter? Oh boy, you guys should have seen. You guys probably saw that video of this $800,000 system that's local to me. That has that AMT tweeter. Guys, that tweeter it's just so musical, so engaging, so pretty, so wide. The dispersion of that tweeter goes from wall to wall. Um, to me, I'm finding a lot of good qualities about that AMT tweeter. That ribbon tweeter to me is starting to reel me in. And so it's quite attractive, but I think it's quite attractive because I've already done so much beryllium tweeter, softum tweeters ad nauseum. Like I want to puke from so many beryllium tweeters and softum tweeters that I'm just tired. And full transparency, I have even contemplated the possibility of bringing an avant-garde horn speaker into the channel just to have something exciting to listen to, just to hear music different, right? So beryllium tweeter, as I said to you, has its greatness. It's a very linear tweeter. Beryllium tweeters are known to be very linear, but also, unfortunately, they can be bright depending on the application, depending on how they're, inserted and used on a speaker. They can be bright. This is clearly not the case with the Lyra. It is not a bright sounding speaker by any stretch of the imagination. Hey, James, I appreciate you. That's all I want, man. Just always hit that like button, and I will continue to work hard, man. I appreciate you. People like you in my corner mean the world to me. Just so you guys know, okay? I love this support. This is what I want to see more of, and I will keep working my ass off constantly for you. This is a great question, Damien. It could be that maybe the scale could be something that I'm attracted to of the Chronosonic XVX, the huge sound, like a football feel instead of a tennis court, right? Maybe that's what it is. It could be that. Maybe it's me not necessarily being more about like what's real. I think the Lyra gives you the right size of the instruments that are playing on any track. They are sounding more true to life, but maybe I just feel like I want to have this huge sound that I'm like, whoa, like I feel like I'm floating in the air, like I'm listening to music in space. If that makes sense. Maybe I want that type of sound better. So it could be, again, maybe I'm just biased with this. And that's why I like maybe tall speakers. We shall see. How do these Lyra sound off axis? Folks, they sound phenomenal off axis. The Lyra sound incredible. I mean, you can sit off to my right and left, and man, you get a pretty good idea of what the speaker sounds like. Again, I feel like the dispersion of the tweeter they're using, this particular iteration of the Beryllium tweeter is special. I mean, no doubt. I feel like anyone who sits in my room can definitely get a good idea of what the speaker or what the sound is in my room. I mean, really good feel and images, actually, left and right, when you're seated off to my right and off to my left. James, do I think I was more in the near field situation with the Chronosonic, and I could get the same by being closer to the Lyra? It's a very good question. I thought about that. The problem with me is I cannot be too close to the speaker because remember, my room is limited when it comes to space. And if I have the speakers, if I got to pull the Lyras a little closer to me, what ends up happening is they are almost in the way, like in between my working area, my working space, where I uncrate a lot of things, where I pack up a lot of things that I'm selling or shipping out. So if the Lyra need to live closer to me, it definitely um hurts my space. And so it could be that you're right. It could be the fact that maybe I might want a taller speaker because I need to be farther away from it. So that's a good point. And I've thought about that, by the way. Great question. Do they sound smaller than the XVX? It's not that it's a smaller sound. I wouldn't say per se it's a smaller sound. However, the totality of the soundstage is definitely greater on the XVX. I mean, it is a bigger speaker. It has more drivers. It has a rear mounted tweeter. That makes a difference, folks. It makes a difference. So I would say overall, it's a big sound, but maybe the Chronosonic does have a slightly bigger sound, excuse me, a slightly bigger sound. I can definitely feel more of that on the Chronosonic, but I mean, if I got these to be a little closer to me, I probably could replicate that same effect, right? So it depends a lot on it. It has to do a lot with the setup of the speaker. But for me, where they are right now, they're sounding phenomenal. I already talked about the X6s in the past. I don't want to make this video about anything else other than the Rockports, folks, the Rockport speaker, the Rockport brand in general. Okay, so if you want if you want to ask me comparisons of Rockport versus other brands, I'm more than happy to answer those questions. I just don't want to stay off topic. I want to stay on topic, and this topic is the Rockport loudspeaker, at least for this live stream. Okay. Oh, this is a great thinking and great wish, by the way, about Magical M6 versus the Lyra and doing a shootout. Unfortunately, I don't have access to an M6 anymore. A Magical M6 is not within reach for me. That's one. And number two, I just don't think that I'll have the chance to do any sort of comparisons, real time comparisons with the Lyra, because I do believe the Lyra need to be set up and left alone. Lyra is not a speaker that I recommend you moving around, putting it away, and then pretend like you're going to come back and put it in the same spot where they were. I prefer to leave them where they sound the very best and not touch them unless I'm moving to a different room. So I don't know if that would work in this particular case, unfortunately. Yes, I do have my own cable line, Authentic Audio Image. See my website, jaysaudiolab.com, if you are interested in my cable line. How long do I plan to keep the Lyras? As I said earlier, if you just got here on this live stream, I urge you to watch the beginning on the Lyras, on this particular live stream, where I go in depth about what makes the speaker so special. How long? There's no telling how long things stay here. Unfortunately, the Lyras could easily be gone next week or the week after, and that's all she wrote. Okay, I will say that my room is giving me a lot more food for thought than I thought it would. And so you never know. There might be a change of direction here soon. So I cannot tell you with certainty how long the Lyra will be here for. I am doing my job today by sharing with you and answering any questions you may have about the speaker. Remember, this speaker has lived with me since October 2023. So it's been here for 4 months. And now finally, I can speak about it and let you know what I have heard, what the speaker does good, and why it is one of the top 3 speakers I've ever owned. Will I ever bring a karma? You never know. You got to stay tuned and keep hitting that like button. That's a possibility. It's a possibility, Carlos. You never know, man. You never know. Anything can happen here. Canada could be next. Europe in general could be next. You never know. No, I have not really looked at designs that I think may sound better. I do think these do a phenomenal job at giving you a lot of accuracy, resolution, nuanced, and detail. I really think that this speaker does it all, in my opinion. I am not really thinking about other designs that I think might do a better job. If I'm being sincere, I haven't really thought about it like that. My man, I appreciate you. Thank you for that donation. You didn't have to, but I certainly appreciate your support. I appreciate people like you supporting my efforts, and definitely standing behind my work. I am trying to ramp up my production value to a higher degree, and knowing that some of you are behind me, wanting to see bigger and better things than that I have done in the past is really so special to me. So I cannot thank you enough. Okay, I cannot thank you enough for this level of support that you are giving me. It means the world to me. I will do a up maybe okay update on your on preamp rankings on the main page. I might update my rankings on my members only section of my website. I might do that. I think that could be something that I could update. I have been so busy, to be honest with you. I haven't had a moment to look at a lot of the footage that I put for my members only. And I need to do more videos. I know this, and those are definitely going to be coming soon. I promise you that. Once again, thank you for that donation, man. I really appreciate you. I'm looking at more questions. You said Lyra is trash. I would love to know what speaker you got, Elias. I would love to know what speaker you have. Why don't you tell us? What's your speaker? Tell us your whole system. Give us a rundown of what you own. But don't lie, be honest. I would love to know what you got. It is important to me. Because at the end of the day, if you have such a strong opinion, which you are entitled to, it makes me wonder, damn, this guy must have some serious equipment. If he thinks the Lyra are trash, this dude must have a devastating sound system. It could wipe out my system in pieces. So I would love to know your system. Since you're calling the Lyras trash, enlighten us. All 247 of us, let us know what your system consists of. I would love to know. And hopefully you don't lie, because there is the possibility that you're lying too, typing things and saying that you have all these other things that you really don't. But I would love to know what you own. Let us know. I'll be looking for your comment. I agree with that. I do believe that their understated look is very appealing, no doubt. The understated look is extremely appealing because they don't call a lot of attention to themselves. They're not a speaker that will, it's not a polarizing look, if that makes sense. It's not like Wilson is a polarizing look. Some people hate it, some people love it. Lyra, everyone that has seen this speaker really likes the look, really enjoys the form factor. They are not flashy. They're not bling bling. They are there. They look elegant, yet not overly done. And I think that's what's really special about the speaker, aesthetically speaking. Well, I've already tried the Griffin Antillean Evo, and I've tried the Griffin Apex with it, and it sounds phenomenal. The Rockport, by the way, in case you do not know, this is an interesting fact about Rockport you may not know. But before I tell you that fact, hit that like button. I'm going to share something you may not know. Hit the like button right now, and I'm going to tell you something that you're only going to know here on my channel. You ready? Rockport, the former owner who still worked at Rockport, Andy, is or was the original Griffin importer here in the United States. I bet you didn't know that. Yes. Now you heard it here on my channel. Rockport Loudspeaker was the original importer of Griffin audio way back when. Cool, right? And that's because they have a tremendous amount of synergistic effects. They have synergy. Griffin and Rockport sound phenomenal, but I have no doubt that Boulder also sounds incredible with Rockport loudspeakers. So yeah, in the past I've had some issues with felt around the speaker, but I'll tell you that you know what, I have outgrown that mentality. I realized that it is an important aspect of a speaker design. I wish that it wasn't used. I wish there was another material that brands could utilize to make the speaker more appealing, maybe. And maybe that's at some point there might be a material that does a better job than felt. I am not a loudspeaker designer. I can't speak on what that material could be or should be, but I wish more brands went away from using felt because I do feel as if it diminishes the look of the speaker. It makes it look, I can't think of another word to use than cheap. It makes the speaker look and feel cheap. Okay. But I understand, again, I understand the need for it. I get it. But gosh, can someone already come out with a material that is the same price point as felt, that looks better than felt, and that can outperform felt slash wool? Please, someone, you'll be making a killing if you can come up with a better material that sounds better than felt, that does the same thing that felt does on a loudspeaker, and that it can cost less money. How can the professional set up the speaker better? Well, it's simple, guys. A professional did a better job because they did have better tools. They use different test tones. They utilize certain tracks they know quite well. They were here for at least 6 hours setting up my Lyras. And yeah, the result was mind boggling. I feel the speaker now does more of what I couldn't hear. I mean, they're hearing. I'm hearing things that I don't think I heard as clear. Now the impact, the bass is a lot better. There is a lot more articulation on the bass. Bass notes are more separated. And yes, of course, my room has, will have room nulls, and you're going to hear frequencies that are not as properly articulated. Every room, excuse me, has issues. But I think that they found the perfect balance in my room that works quite well. I will say that the results have been quite incredible, and I never expected it to be as good as it turned out to be. So I have to give them kudos. There's definitely um, a, a value that is gained when you watch pros do speaker setup. That much I can tell you. Folks, I'm not answering any questions at this time that has to do with other speaker brands, unless you're asking me to compare to the Lyra. I want to stay focused on the Lyra or any Rockport speakers that you may be inquiring about, that you may want to know about. Okay, I want to stay on topic. I want to stay focused here, and to make sure that we all have a fun time today. Okay, I am super pumped up and excited to share with you what this purchase was. I know it has been a long time coming, and to go back to what I stated earlier and reinforce my point, I do not know when they'll leave, how soon the Lyras will be gone. I have no clue. You may see them over the next 3 4 days, and then you may see them, or you may see them over the next 2 weeks, or you may not see them again. Okay. Today, this Sunday, you are seeing them live. I have lived with them for 4 months, and I'm repeating myself. I know this, but some of you guys just got here. I don't know if the Lyra will stay with me forever because I feel I am missing a tall loudspeaker. Again, I think that I might be that guy that wants tall speakers. Okay, so I probably want to try another tall loudspeaker and see what kind of results I get. Full transparency, I'm being honest. I'm not lying. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I want to share this with you. Okay, in the event that you see some changes here again. I've already spoken about this. Okay, so you may want to watch the video from the beginning. Okay, it's important that you guys watch the live stream. If you are just joining us, you have to watch the live stream from the beginning, because there's been so much information that I've shared. There has been so many questions that I've answered. Please, you may have to watch the video from the beginning. There is a lot of information here. Oh, these speakers make me definitely want to try all sorts of components, all sorts of electronics. They make me want to pull out all my boxes, my cables, open up everything, and really go to town, right? They make me want to understand the differences, of all the electronics that I have in the room. They really definitely do that for me. I'm not going to deny that. It's a fine loudspeaker that speaks to you. That speaks to you with a lot of articulation and clarity. Nothing about the speaker is half-assed or not well done. It's a very impressive loudspeaker. Trust me when I say this. Yeah, I mean, David, it would be nice, right? I want a tall loudspeaker, make it the magical M9. I wish I could. I cannot afford that. I think if I buy a magical M9, I am going to be panhandling outside under a bridge with a magical M9, sitting next to a dog on a leash while I'm eating, Doritos. Okay, so I cannot afford a Magical M9. It's above my pay grade. I have a limit when it comes to how much I spend. I must say that, but that's something that I simply cannot afford, at least for now. You never know. 5 years from now, maybe that is a speaker that I could bring in, into the channel. Who knows? But right now, with what YouTube is paying me, it's not happening, folks. It's not happening. Great question, Frank. Rockports are in general very musical. Are my tastes refining towards a more musical presentation? I think I like the tonality of the speaker. It is definitely a softer sound than what I have had in the past. No denying, and that I think a lot of you who have heard the Rockport lineup can definitely back me up on this. So it is. It does give you a feeling of more musicality. The speaker certainly talks to you in such way. Um, but at the end of the day, this is all subjective, right? So I don't really know if it could be the sound that might check all your boxes. I know for me, it definitely has given me a different feel with the music that I normally play. And it makes me want to try other types of music. But again, see my earlier points on this video. It is neutral, it's very honest. If you are playing Nirvana, well, you know how that sounds. I mean, it's not going to lie to you, all right? It's not going to allow you it's not going to lie to you with bad recordings. It's not going to allow you to, it's not going to make bad music sound good. If that's what you're expecting out of the Lyra, you are looking at the wrong speaker. It's not its job to make things sound good. It's simply a speaker that's going to try to stay out of the way as much as possible. And to me, that's a good speaker. A speaker that's trying to be a window that pushes music out to you. That's really the best way or the best analogy that I can give you about this Lyra. So yeah, you still have to be selective with your music. Now you may use tubes like the lampensator that I have back there to give you perhaps a little more feeling to the presentation with those tubes to perhaps make the music a little more like syrupy, sweeter sounding. And the speaker will definitely tell you that's what's going on. Do they need polishing? No, I mean, they don't need polishing. I mean, yeah, it's nice if you clean them up, right? It's really cool if you can keep them clean. They have a beautiful paint finish. But yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. They have this beautiful paint that looks better when you clean it. That could be the case. That could be the case. Uh, Let me see. This is a great question, by the way. So let me answer this. All right, so I'm going to answer this question so you guys have an idea, okay? This is a great question. You are wanting to know if a driver blows, does the speaker need to go back to the factory? So if a driver blows, okay, if you take out this mid-range, this tweeter, okay, what happens is this felt right here, you actually unglue it completely. And then you have screws around the driver that you take out and basically remove the driver and insert the new one. And then they send you the glue to glue the felt back on here. So you can do this yourself. Okay. There's not, I mean, if you have normal, like if you have I don't know if it has, I'm assuming it has to be soldered. But yeah, so that's the process with these. They do not have to travel back to the factory. I made sure I asked that. So I want to tell you, if you have these speakers, you do not have to ship them back to the factory. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for that support. Thank you. Okay, do you think the Lyras got higher position and are the most quiet cabinet versus the Magicals or any? The cabinet has a lot to do with this. I think that this is one of the most um, advanced cabinets in the industry. I do believe this design is extremely advanced and it's doing things that no one else is doing. They are doing things when it comes to cabinet construction specific to the Lyra and the Orion, I think too, that no one else is doing. I don't know of any other brand that builds a cabinet like this. Okay, I do not know. I mean, if you do not know how these things are built, go on YouTube again, search Rockport Lyra cabinet, and you'll find a video that shows you how these things are being built. Okay, so I don't know of anyone else who's doing that. If you know someone, let me know. But I do not know of anyone else who builds a cabinet like this. And yes, I think the beauty and the magic of this speaker is definitely the cabinet. It definitely is the fact that it's so stiff and inert that you hear the smallest details come out to life. As I explained earlier, I went over in detail about the drivers of this speaker. Okay, so just circle back to the beginning of my video, please. I already shared this information about the drivers of this particular loudspeaker. I'm glad you like them. I love the look. I think it's a very, very nice, simple design that's elegant, not overly done, not taken overboard and polarizing. I don't think I've met anyone who can say that this speaker looks ugly. I don't think so. I don't think that energy comes out of anyone with this speaker. The aesthetics, to me, are even, to be honest with you, it's a more attractive speaker than the Orion. That's my personal opinion, of course, but I think this is a more attractive speaker than the Orion. The Orion, to me, the lower part, I don't know if I like the way that woofer is, how it has like a beer belly kind of thing on the bottom, right? I don't know if I like that aesthetically. I'm not saying there's no reason why it's not, I'm sure there's a reason, excuse me, why the speaker is designed that way, but I prefer the Lyra's design. I think it's a more streamlined look, has the right proportions, it's got the right amount of depth. It's not a massive speaker. And by the way, in case you do not know, it is the successor to the Arakis. It's actually a speaker that was far bigger than this. The Arakis was far heavier. It was like built on like different modules. And long story short, they took forever to design a speaker that outperformed the Iraqi, right, or Rockport, the Iraqi Rockport. Okay, so this speaker, which is definitely a smaller speaker, is it's the speaker that outperforms the Iraqis. Okay, I wonder if Rockport will ever release an Iraqi's MK2. I'm being told they don't think that will come, and I'm being told they did try to build an Iraqi's MK2, and that basically failed. So there were hundreds of thousands of dollars thrown into the trash because that idea of a better Iraqis never came to fruition. So they worked on a different design. The Lyra is it, and the Lyra finally was able to outperform the Iraqis on many levels. Perhaps it doesn't have the same base of the Iraqis, but overall, it's a much more polished product. JJ, I already spoke about the tweeter on this speaker, JJ. Make sure you go back to the beginnings of this video and you will get your answer. Yeah, it's definitely dual woofers to create more impact, and they are in parallel. So they are hitting bass notes at the same time. The same notes come out of both woofers, just so you know. Great feedback. I actually have Epsilon monos in my storage unit. I have a set of the Alias 2, I think it's called. I have a set of these Ypsilon monoblocks in my storage. I haven't introduced them to the channel, but I do have a set, so maybe. Thank you for this feedback. Oh, I've heard many speakers that I cannot afford. Of course, I thought a few years back I was never going to be able to afford the Rockport Lyris, and here I am. It happened. So maybe at some point I'll be able to afford a speaker above the price point of this in the Chronosonic XVX. But I don't see that happening this year. I think this year I have my work cut out for me and I'll be able to do other things, but I don't think one of those things will be a much more expensive loudspeaker. Thank you. On two red, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, there's a lot less clutter with this speaker. I agree. The room looks larger too. It's really well laid out with this speaker. The speaker does not impose itself in the room. It actually blends quite well in my room. Okay, so what company cable loom works best? To be honest with you, that's probably a question that Rockport can answer you. I can say I'm getting good results with Griffin cables in here and a Shunyata Omega speaker cable. So I don't know what I think they use AudioQuest cables at show. So I know AudioQuest has good synergy there with Rockport. But I don't know if you want to do Nordos or if you want to do perhaps, I don't know, other brands of cables. I think you may want to ask him. You may want to call them and find out what works best with these Rockport loudspeakers. They will be able to steer you in the right direction. Anton, you might want to consider my consultation service for this type of question. If you're spending this kind of money, and I'll say this in closing, if you're spending this kind of money on any product and you're asking the whole world their opinion, unqualified opinion, you're in for a world of hurting. Yes, please do yourself a favor. Consider my consultation service, folks. You're slinging $300,000 system. You're looking to buy a $20,000, $30,000 amplifier. Consider my service. I mean that. Don't be dumb. Don't go out there asking people that have never owned whatever it is that you're looking to buy. Why are you going to ask the dude with the Toyota Corolla to teach you how to park and drive a Ferrari? I don't understand this. Like, I've been saying this a million times. If you're buying a Ferrari, talk to the dudes with a Ferrari. They're the ones they're gonna tell you what's the best oil they've used. You know, what's the best tires. Stop talking to the fools that own the Corollas and the Nissans. No disrespect, they're both good cars, but you're in a Ferrari. It's the same thing here, folks. It's no different. Get qualified opinions from those who live with this stuff, not from the fools that hear the product you're interested in on YouTube, and now they feel informed enough to give you a recommendation on what to do and not to do. Do not do that. That's that's you punching you in your own mouth, knocking your own teeth out. That's what you're doing. And you know that's what you're doing. You know that's what you're doing. Please consider my consultation service. Stop doing this to yourself. Let me see. I believe the Rockport gave up on the Iraqis because they were too much. Well, you are looking at this one here. You're looking at one of the speakers, right? So this is one of them. And the other one was a Griffin Trident, which unfortunately has already a new owner, and it's set to be shipped out this month in March. At the end of March, it will find its way to a new home. So, yeah, that's it. Those are the two speakers that I had here. The Rockports that you're seeing behind me in a Griffin Trident, which I will talk about at a later date, not right now. Okay, so I think we have been doing this for over 2 hours right now, guys. I hope it's been a great live stream for you all. If you just got here right now, I urge you to please go back to the early beginnings of this video, begin to watch it. There are so many interesting questions that I've answered, as well as feedback or information about the speaker. And I will probably bring the Rockport designer, Andy, can't remember his last name, but Andy will be answering probably my questions, and I'm going to ask him some good questions so he can talk to us about Rockport and what makes the speaker so special, his philosophy when it comes to loudspeaker design. And yeah, I'm going to ask him some stupid questions too, like why no subwoofer yet for Rockport? I know it may sound like a dumb question, but I want to know why. Why isn't any Rockport subwoofer at this time? Why haven't we seen any? What does he feel about subs? Does he not believe in subwoofers? Is that what it is? Maybe he doesn't feel like his speakers need it. I want to hear it from him. So I'm going to work on that interview and probably release it soon. And in case you are headed to this new Texas show that's happening in about 2 weeks, I will be there covering the show in 2 weeks. So I expect to meet many of you in Texas. I expect to hear about your system, your configurations, your pain points, your struggles. Perhaps you have questions for me about a future component you're trying to buy. Please come and talk to me. Say hello. I know I may seem very busy when you're looking at me in rooms, but hey, you can stop me in the hallway and talk to me. Introduce yourself. I urge you to do so. I want to talk to all of you, okay? And of course, engage with you and listen to you, okay? So make sure you see me in 2 weeks over in Dallas, Texas. I am very pumped and excited to be there and cover this brand new show, Southwest show that is being held there next week. All right. So with that said, thank you for that support. I hope you have enjoyed today's live stream. And I have a lot more things coming your way. I may make a video probably today with the Rockports playing some music to get you guys to understand what the speaker does, more or less, because I think I owe it to you guys. But as I said earlier, if you don't hear a lot from them again, don't be mad. I have been very honest about this. If you do not know what that was, watch the live stream in its entirety again. It's all there. It's all laid out for you. All right, folks? Thank you again. Please support. Hit the like button right now for this video so that this live stream can do well after I finish it. I really do appreciate if you subscribe as well, because that means the world to me. As you know, I'll keep doing the best of the best. That's what my channel has been about since day one, and believe me, that won't change. Have a good rest of your day or evening. Peace.